11 years I'd warded the Hallow Reach, and in 11 years I never once set a snare in the Hollow Eye. That was the section past the second ridge, where the old Ashran watch fort had collapsed into its own shrine 2 centuries back, and where the herders swore something moved between the stones at dusk that wasn't deer and wasn't wind. Most wardens before me had marked it a dead zone on the trapping charts and left it there out of superstition. I marked it a dead zone too, but I did it on purpose, every season, in my own hand, long after I stopped believing in ghosts and started believing in something quieter, that whatever kept to that ground wanted to be left alone, and that leaving it alone was the only kindness I had to offer. I never told anyone that. There was no one to tell. The Reach didn't get visitors, except the 1 week a year the herders drove their flocks through the low pass, and the occasional survey rider from the Valley Registrar's office checking that I still drew breath and still kept the boundary posts standing. I'd taken the posting at 33, after a border stint that ended badly enough I stopped talking about it, and I'd meant to stay a season. 11 years is a long time to mean to leave somewhere. Long enough that the silence stops feeling like something missing and starts feeling like something earned, mine, and, I'd slowly come to understand, not only mine. Then Dreth Calvoran's banner came up the switchback road with 11 riders behind it, and I understood the quiet was over. He was a lord of the lower holdings, and he'd found an old writ nobody had bothered to strike from the books, the hunt right, the one that said whoever brought back proof of the Reach's legendary beast, the thing the herders called the ghost, could claim dominion over the extinguished Ashran seat and everything that came with it. 2 centuries dead, that house, its shrine crumbling in the Hollow Eye, its mountain rights sitting unclaimed because nobody thought there was anything left worth claiming, until Dreth decided there was. "You're the warden," he said to me at the gate, not a question. "You'll guide us." "There's nothing up there but rock slides and old stone," I told him. "Then you won't mind showing us the rock slides?" He smiled the way men smile when they've already decided how a conversation ends. 11 years alone on this ridge, Ostler. You must be due for company. I led them the long way. Not out of courage, I want to be honest about that, because everything after only makes sense if I'm honest about that first part. I led them the long way because it was the only thing I could think to do that wasn't nothing, and doing nothing had stopped feeling like an option the moment I saw how they carried their bows, like men who intended to use them. We lost 2 days to false ridgelines and switchbacks I invented on the spot, doubling back through scree fields that led nowhere, telling them the good passes were slid out from spring melt when they weren't. I fed his men bad water crossings and worse campsites, and I did it with a straight face, because 11 years of walking that ground alone teaches you exactly how convincing a lie sounds when you already know every true path it's hiding. Dreth's patience wore down to a filament by the second night, his men grumbling over cold rations and a mountain that seemed determined to keep circling them back to their own boot prints. On the third morning he took the maps out of my saddlebag himself, found the Hollow Eye blank and unmarked exactly as I'd kept it for 11 years, and looked at me with something that wasn't quite suspicion yet, but was getting there. "Funny," he said, "how a section this close to your own cabin has never once been surveyed." I didn't answer. There wasn't an answer that didn't end with him asking why. That night I went ahead of them alone, telling his second I was checking a washout on the trail. I found her at the shrine, where I'd found her a handful of times over the years and always turned around and walked away before she knew I'd seen her, because whatever she was, she'd made it clear in the particular language of someone who has been hunted before that she did not want to be found. This time I didn't turn around. "They have a writ," I said, from a respectful distance, hands empty and visible. 2 centuries old, something about proof of a beast buying a man the Ashran seat. They're 3 ridges back and closing, and I've run out of false trails to walk them down. She didn't move for a long moment. In the shrine light she looked less like the shape the herders described, matted and feral and animal quick, and more like someone who had simply run out of anywhere safer to be tired in. Moss-green skin gone ashen at the edges from years of poor sun, dark auburn hair knotted with pine needle and dust, storm-gray eyes that had clearly done a great deal of watching and very little resting. "Say the name of the house you protect," she said. Not a question either. A test. "Ashran," I said, though I never knew there was anyone left of it to protect. "There wasn't," she said. "For 200 years there wasn't. I made sure of that myself. Better extinguished than found." She looked at the blank section of trapping map I still held, the one she must have somehow known about, the one dead zone in 11 years of a warden's careful, honest work. Why? I didn't have a clever answer. Because something was living here that didn't ask to be caught, and I decided a long time ago I wasn't going to be the one who caught it. She was quiet long enough that I thought I'd answered wrong. They will not stop at 3 ridges, she said finally. No, I agreed, they won't. Dreth's riders found the shrine by midday, exactly the way I'd known they eventually would, because 11 riders with dogs and torches don't stay lost forever, not even on ground I know better than my own hands. I stood at the collapsed archway when they came through it, between the party and the inner court, and I told Dreth plainly that there was nothing here to claim. He laughed at me, not cruelly, almost fondly, the way a man laughs at a dog that's finally shown teeth. Step aside, Warden. This doesn't concern you. It concerns me, I said, because I've spent 11 years making sure it never had to concern anyone. That was when she stepped out from behind the fallen lintel, into full daylight, where nothing had seen her clearly in 200 years. The dogs went silent first, then the riders. Dreth's laughter died somewhere in his throat and didn't come back. I am Senavor Ashrin, she said, and her voice carried the way voices do when they've been saved up, unspent, for exactly this. Last of the seat you've come to claim by killing a ghost. I am not a ghost. I was never a beast. I was a woman who understood, 200 years ago, that the only way to keep what was left of my house safe from men like you was to let you believe there was nothing left to take. Dreth found something to say, a stammered line about the writ, about proof, about the letter of an old law, and she cut through it without raising her voice at all. Then take your proof back to whatever registrar still honors it, and tell them the beast declined to die for your convenience. Her eyes moved to me, just once, just briefly, and tell them the warden who spent 11 years leaving a dead zone on his own maps, at his own cost, asking nothing and reporting nothing, is the only claim on this ground that was ever honestly earned. Nobody argued with her. I think, looking back, nobody could have found the nerve. Dreth's party rode down off the reach before dusk, and they did not come back, not that season, not any season after, once word traveled down through the valley about what exactly they'd found instead of a trophy. The old writ got quietly struck from the books within the year, I heard later, though I never asked how she'd managed it, and never doubted that she had. She stayed on at the shrine after that, not hidden anymore, she didn't need to be, but not gone either, the way I half expected a restored heir to simply vanish toward whatever grander life waited for her elsewhere. She stayed, and within a season she'd started walking the Hollow Eye boundary alongside me on the mornings I made my rounds, not because the reach needed 2 wardens, but because, as she put it once, quietly, not looking at me when she said it, she'd spent 200 years being protected by a man who never once asked to be thanked for it, and she'd decided that was a habit worth keeping close. I still don't set snares in the Hollow Eye. I don't need the excuse of superstition anymore. I keep the ground clear because it's hers, and because she chose, out of every place 2 centuries had left open to her, to stay on the one ridge where somebody had already been quietly keeping it safe.